We love hip hop.
I'm back here in a few days to do an interview, to be honest.
Okay.
The
How often are you doing them? Because you got a lot of content, man.
I'm always doing interviews, bro. Some weeks I'll do like 3-4 interviews, and what I usually pre-record. I pre-record everything, right?
Yeah.
So I'll stack up the member section, salute to our members, and make sure that they have like early previews of stuff. So for example, like today we're talking on Friday. I'm gonna have this up for the members by Saturday.
Okay, I get you.
And then when it drops on Thursday,
everyone else sees it.
Everybody else gets to see it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
You can hear yourself properly? You're good with audio?
Yeah, bro, it's perfect.
Perfect.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so before we start, let's do some story time. Tell me about what happened at the last interview with the heavy 420 action that was going on.
Yeah, man. Is this for the podcast?
Yeah, we on. We rolling.
Oh, good. Okay. All right. Well, first of all, thanks for having me back, brother.
No, salute to you, man.
It's been a minute, man. And yeah, I definitely have a good story about the last time. It's crazy that you kind of slightly forgot because it was supposed to be such a big deal. I walked through to the We Love Hip Hop Network podcast and you were like, it's our 150th episode.
Yes.
So I'm like, oh, this is dope, man. I'm honored to be part of this big episode. So you and PK Herx there, you know, you're smoking. And as you just discovered before we went to air, I don't smoke. And as an asthmatic, I can't be around smoke. But that was not what you guys were just celebrating with alone. You guys had the cookies and you guys had the cake. And somebody who was there, I don't remember her name, but she had apparently baked the cookies and the cake. I remember asking her, you know, how much of the the THC is in what they're smoking versus what's in the cake and the cookies. And if I remember correctly, she said something like, well, what they have in their spliffs there, like maybe 30 milligrams. In the cake's about 300 milligrams.
Yeah.
And I was like, yo, what? So the whole podcast is like, take a cookie, take
some.
No, I'm good. I'm good. I just had my water. I'm sipping water. Bro, by the time we were done, fam, I was hungry. Now, that's the worst time to yam any kind of sweets, let alone THC laced sweets. Now, I have something that's important to the story. This is Christmas time. My album had dropped in October of 2019. This was December of 2019.
Wow.
And I bring this up and I remember it clearly because I knew I had plans for when I left the studio. I got to go to the store and pick up batteries because I got smoke detectors that are beeping. I got to change the batteries in my smoke detectors.
You got a list of things.
Number two, and this is important for the story. You'll see why. Number two, I got presents that come from Amazon. They're at the concierge of my building. I gotta pick those up. So I'm going to lay that down just so you understand some context of me driving home. And before I drove home, I was offered some cake. Why don't you take some for the road? I kept saying no the whole interview. So she cut me a huge honking brick slice of cheesecake. Now, I asked her what kind of cake it was. She said cheesecake. I said, oh man, that's the magic words. I love me some cheesecake. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So she wraps it up. And I take it. Bro, like I said, I got this brick sitting in the passenger seat as I'm driving. I know
You're driving with contraband now.
Yeah, that's true. It's before I got all. That's true. And I know I got to go to the store for these batteries. So I'm driving and I'm looking at this cake in the passenger seat. Like I said, hungry. And I'm like, man, I forgot everything she said about how much was in there and only have a sliver, a little slice. And I said, man, let me try this. And I open it up and take a big old bite. And all I taste is amazingness. Cheesecake. It's not like some of the edibles I've had where you taste the weedy taste. I'm like, this is just straight delicious.
Yeah.
And again, I'm hungry now. So you know what happens when you're hungry and you're tasting something amazing? You take another bite, bro. And now my logic is telling me, well, I can't leave the slice with these two little bites. I got to even it, bro. So I evened it, bro. And now I'm like, this is good. I'm not feeling nothing yet, of course. So my mind's just telling me this is delicious. Brethren, by the time I got to the store, I had whittled down this brick to about something like this size.
You moshed the whole cake, bro?
Not all. But I'm going to say about 3/4 of this cake was done. I go and I buy the batteries. I get home. I go to concierge. I pick up the package. And I go up to the crib. I open up the batteries. I get a chair. I stand on the chair. I take out the smoke detector, put the new batteries in, and bruh, you know, like when you drink, getting drunk creeps up on you a little bit. I had learned the hard way, y'all, that weed is a whole other hit you. It slapped me in the face out of nowhere, and I'm fully stand by myself in my condo, standing on a chair, doing like this with batteries going, am I dreaming? And I looked around not knowing if it was a dream or real life.
That's crazy.
And I was so tripping out that the lady I was talking to at the time messaged me and she goes, how was the interview? I'm like, yo, I'm high as hell. She knows I don't smoke. So she's like, shut up. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
So I told her the cheesecake story. She calls me. She's like, you're such a newbie. What is your problem? Why would you eat so much? And I was so paro, bro, that I'm like, I want to shower. The man's and we're smoking and I think it's in my hair, but I'm afraid I'm going to fall in the shower. I was so paranoid. I was afraid to take the shower,
crazy.
bro. The next day, man, I woke up still tripping.
Wow.
I had to pick up my daughter from school and I was like, I can't let her see me like this. And I was so tripping. I think the only thing that sobered me up was later in the day when it was, and I went to the school like an hour early. I wanted to make sure I was good. And I was. But the thing is, when I woke up, I still wasn't sure, since I was tripping, if it was a dream
reality
or real.
A dream, yeah.
So I exited my bedroom to see the batteries for the smoke detector and the Amazon package, which made me realize it was all real. Now, I don't know if that's yours or anybody else's high off cheesecake weed, weed experience. But bro, I was tripping. It was at least a good, not a 24 hours, but close to.
Damn, bro.
And thanks to you, that was my experience.
You're welcome, man.
Yes. So I've never told that story before until on a podcast, and you deserve to hear it because it was all your fault.
Hey, listen, man. The We Love Hip Hop podcast. We aim to please. They call us the world's most smoked out podcast. But I will say this before we start.
Yeah.
I don't mind not smoking. I was saying before we start, I'm not on some little TJ Fabio foreign shit like, yo, oh my God, I don't know if I'll be able to function. And you know what? I think that's a lesson to a lot of people out there. It's you that's doing the music. It's you that's doing the podding.
Right.
It's not the substance that you're using.
Yes,
you know
sir.
What I'm saying?
Rest in peace, Fife Dog. I remember one of his bars where he goes, some dudes talk about how they need weed to get loose.
Yeah,
and he goes,
I could get loose off of
orange juice. That's right. That's exactly right.
Exactly.
That's exactly right.
Well, let's start this off, man. You got the headphones on for a reason because you know, we are audio pod.
Right.
Let's get it popping.
Okay.
It's going down. Let's get it popping, man.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. Let's get it popping. It's your boy Friday Ricky Dread here with another interview for your head top. Before we get into it, I want to give a quick salute to my sponsors. Big salute to Diamond Club. If you want some of the loudest loud in the GTA and, you know, edibles, pens, anything that you need, make sure to hit them up on their Instagram page, Diamond Club _Canada. Use the code welovehiphop on the, Diamond Club _Ontario. Okay, that Instagram page is dead. Make sure to hit up Diamond Club _Ontario. Also use the code welovehiphop on the way out. Get yourself a little discount. If you want some of that blem, make sure to hit up Steamin' Hot Grab. I got a shaker on the table over here with the We Love Hip Hop boys on the cover. They got delivery across the GTA, and you can find them in some of the stores over in the West End on the Jane Strip. Hit them up on their Instagram page, Steamin' Hot Grabber, and also use the code We Love Hip Hop. Couple more. For my people in Ottawa, if you want some of the loudest loud, same-day delivery and same-day delivery for over here in the GTA, you got to hit up Only Loud. Okay, Only Loud has delivery across the GTA and across the country as well. Hit them up on their Instagram page, Only Loud Canada, and you can find them on Snapchat, onlyloud.ca. Last but not least, if you're looking for a good dispensary in the West End of Toronto, you got to go to the gas station. The gas station, they're at 260 Geary Avenue. That's close to like DuPont and Dufferin area. Okay. They got a bunch of different strains, as well as you can get your grabber and backwoods, like the Zaza, chocolate backwoods, all those exotic flavors. Make sure to check them out, 260 Geary Avenue, or you can find them on Instagram, The Gas Station 416. So, you know, I've been having a moment where I just want to talk to a lot of like hip hop legends. You know what I'm saying?
Dope.
You know, obviously you've been here on the pod a few times, and I feel now when I bring legends back, it's more than just interviews. It's to have conversations just about the culture.
No doubt.
You know what I'm saying? And I feel that this gentleman right here will be able to give us some of the insight that we need moving forward in 2025. Hip hop legend, historian, maker of many, many hot tracks in the scene, foundation MC, and a member of the legendary Monolith crew.
Yes, sir.
We have Danny O in the motherfucking building.
If it may boost your rep, you'll consider it worthy of posting. It's dirty of boasting, you make more money than most men through cash.
Yes, sir. My guy, big respect, man. Thank you for having me back. I appreciate being, put in the category of legends. It's still crazy to me how much time has passed since I first started rocking a mic.
Mm-hmm.
And congratulations, man. I'm happy to see, the success of the podcast.
Thank you.
I'm glad that you got all those sponsors. It's like the perfect segue from my story.
The Spirit 420 sponsors.
Yeah, man. That's very dope. And yeah, thanks for having me back, man.
No, thank you, bro. And you did mention something, and I mentioned it as well, being a hip-hop legend, right?
Mm.
You know you're a hip-hop legend now, right? You can confidently know that you're a hip-hop legend, right? Like, we don't
I appreciate
like
that a lot.
we prop you up, but like, I feel like you know this by now. Like, you've done things that have been foundation and that people can always go back to in our history books and see. How did that feel?
Yeah, well, I'm very appreciative that you and so many have said that and put me in that category, man. Sometimes, like I just said, it's crazy how much time has passed since my first record dropped. We just celebrated a new year, and with every year that it's like, God, another year so quick.
Yeah.
And to think that it's been like 30 years since I wrote Dear Hip Hop.
Cause ever since I was 10, you've been my best friend. Dear Hip Hop, I love you till I
and of course that's a song that a lot of people will attach to me and then reference me being a legend because of it. Firstly, I'm proud, man, because on one hand, yes, the song is that old, but more importantly, it resonates and has always resonated with hip hop heads. It's a letter to hip hop. It expresses love for hip hop. It expresses a wish to save it from the degradation of the industry and all of that stuff. And it's just like back then in the 90s, man, all I ever wrote about was my love for hip hop and never having released a record and wanting to put out records and wanting to change the game so that real hip hop could get recognized. So the fact that it resonated with heads and all these years later still does, I'm very appreciative of, because regardless of the number of albums, singles and features and videos, all the things that I've done, it always comes back to how it started. And thankfully I have that as something that can arguably put me in the legend category. The other thing is, or the flip side of that is, I still feel like I have so much more to do to earn the legend thing. So I receive it humbly and with a lot of appreciation, but at the same time, I'm like, man, I look up to legends. I could list legends that I'm like, I hope to achieve what they've achieved and still aspire to.
Yeah.
So I feel like I have a lot of work to do, but again, so much appreciation whenever I hear that.
Nah, man, and we appreciate you, bro. And even with real hip hop, like, just to touch on that song, right? And the mission that you had with that song back in the days. Think about the fact that you were talking about that then.
Yeah.
And I feel like here now in 2025, do you feel like we're still dealing with the same struggle?
1,000%. It's just a different struggle.
Yeah.
Because back in the 90s, the struggle was hip hop as a whole, as an art form, a culture, and a musical genre, wasn't getting the love and respect that we all felt it deserved.
Yeah.
We thought it was just, kind of ill-respected in a way. It was underground. It wasn't mainstream. I'm always referring to that line from Crossover where PMD says, "Still, I haven't seen one rapper living comfortably." Today, a lot of rappers are living comfortably.
Yes.
So the struggle is a different one. Hip hop, of course, is world-renowned, worldwide, super popular. It is mainstream. And now the struggle is between the underground and the mainstream, or the idea that real hip hop exists from a place where you're spitting real bars. There's got to be talent behind your abilities. You got to be original and not bite. And now we're in a world where instead of coming into the game the way I did, which was, I just want to prove I'm the dopest MC, now younger artists recognize that there's money to be made and can be made.
Yeah.
So their reason for entering the culture, or the game for that matter, is a lot different.
Yeah.
And so the struggle is between what we consider real and authentic and the shit that's just eroding what we consider like high-level skills, lyricism, bars, and music with substance. And of course, I'm someone who really, considers the substance of his music to be really important.
Now, as somebody who has substance music, what do you consume as far as like your music? Are you still consuming, like a lot of us who are from the older schools will consume old school shit because we're not finding a lot of new stuff.
Right.
And then there's a lot of new stuff that's fire that we can find too. Like, which one are you?
No doubt. I'm both, bro. Both columns for me. Because it's interesting. I went through some interesting periods over the past. It's been a long 30 years.
Yeah.
As much as it's been a short 30 years. And in that 30 years, I've gone through different like ups and downs where I was at one point like, fuck all this new shit, man. Everything is whack. Everybody's whack, and just became disenfranchised from it, including as an artist.
Yeah.
Like I often tell people that I've had two different careers. It didn't stop, but it stopped sort of mentally at one point because I was just kind of feeling like I was done with it. And this was like mid 2000s where I started really picking up on my acting career and taking acting classes. And I started teaching songwriting, hip hop classes, and I started doing podcasts, and just doing things outside of just emceeing. It all came back to me though, of course, because you can't leave your first love, or your first love never leaves you. And by the end of the first decade of the 2000s, I was writing and recording again and doing all kinds of new stuff with a new energy.
Yeah.
And I think that new energy is necessary because we can't stay stuck in the 90s because it's the 20s. It's crazy. Like, like the mid 20s now, bro.
Yeah.
25. So, one, I'm proud of the fact that a lot of 50 somethings have released albums over the past year.
Yes.
Everyone from Redman to Snoop to Ice Cube to Common and Pete Rock.
Nas.
Absolutely. Master Ace. I mean, hip hop still lives.
Yes.
From the era that we're from in present day. Oh yeah, by the way, Danny-O put out an album in 2024. So it's with that energy that I keep listening and keep appreciating what's going on. That being said, there are new artists too that are not whack. I mean, I'm down with the Kendricks and the Eminem put out an album in 2024 too. Like there's MCs, man.
Hold on. You said Kendrick, and I feel like I've heard older heads go to those Kendrick and Cole guys.
Yes.
They ain't newer.
No, they're not new. No, in fairness, you're absolutely right because they've been doing it well past a decade.
Yeah, they're getting old to the younger heads.
No, they're 30-somethings. Yeah, for sure.
They're getting close to 40.
They are, yeah. And I think what's beautiful about that is it says exactly what hip hop is. Hip hop itself is a culture that's now past 50.
Yeah.
So of course, hip hop and those who are part of the culture have grown with the culture. So should 50-somethings be making records? Absolutely.
Yes.
In addition to everything else, DJing, b-boying, graffiti, podcasting, making clothes. The whole culture is worth having everyone part of it, regardless of age. On top of that, you were mentioning, or you were asking about the other stuff I listen to. Yes, I'm still digging in the crates for my old music.
Yeah.
And we'll always listen to that. But there's new stuff too, even outside of hip hop. Like I love funk and neo soul, and like I listen to a lot of that too. So yeah, my music listening has a wide array.
Yeah. I think that, like, just in my opinion, there's good hip hop out there, but then there's just so much stuff that we get pushed with on social media that it makes it hard to believe it. You know what I mean? Because we see a lot of the crap come through on social media and it has high engagement. Yeah, that's so that gives us the perception that there's just trash music out there.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. It's funny because there are a lot of people in my world who are like, my brother, I'm like, did you hear the new? He won't even listen to the dope shit. He's like, he's so like, I'm just done listening to new shit that he misses the dope shit. Because what you're saying is true. The way we consume music is completely different.
Yes.
We're from the era of records and tapes. And of course, CDs eventually. And now, not even now, then it turned into downloading. That didn't even last too long. Because we're in a streaming world now. So we can consume music way easier. I remember the days sitting, just dating myself, but I already did anyway, where I'd sit in front of the TV waiting and hoping that a dope video was going to come on. And if it wasn't Rap City, which was really where you could get hip hop, what other show might put it on? Now it's so readily available from every social media platform to streaming platforms, like, of course, the YouTubes and the Spotifys. You find anything you want. So it's saturated now. There's so much that you don't know even. There's so much stuff out. You don't even know where to find it unless someone's sending it your way. So it's good and bad, right? It's available, but it's, to your point, saturated with a lot of whackness. Yeah. And so when the whackness gets all of we're also judging music differently now. We're paying attention to views, likes, comments, and things like that. Yes. We can see the metric. You brought up my Spotify and the computer. I'm like, oh, is that how many listeners I have now? Like, it shows you. Yeah. And it also shows the world. So what we're doing that's different than when we were coming up is we are allowing others to form our opinions. We used to decide
Yeah.
what we liked, what was dope and whack. And we'd
Yeah.
show up in school and argue. What do you mean? I like this better than that guy, and this MC's better than we don't. Now it's like, yeah, but look at his followers.
He doesn't
Or
even
look
get
at-
as much views as this guy.
doesn't look at his views, and you rate somebody. Listen, all our grant writing, I've been writing grants since the 90s. Now you're looking at things that actually ask you to show like your
The
following on
analytics,
social
yeah.
media. So you are right. And I say this as a message to everybody paying attention to this. Yo, form your own opinions. It's still okay. Don't allow the numbers that you see to dictate your own opinion of something or sway you to believe something is hot when your own opinion goes, yeah, I don't know if this is for me.
Yeah.
It's weird.
The number doesn't dictate what the quality of the content is.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
Oh, that's for sure.
What are your thoughts on, and listen, I got questions here on the page, but like I got thoughts.
It's a conversation, like you said.
What are your thoughts on the hip hop scene now? And not just the hip hop scene, I'm talking about Toronto wise, right? We come from a time where it was like not as cool to listen to Toronto based hip hop.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like we had to fight for our own people to listen to our shit.
For sure. I think we still do.
I don't know, man. There's a lot of people, these younger rappers who I interview.
Yeah.
They got mad fans that are Toronto. If we were to look at their analytics, it's probably like 70% over here that is consuming their music and their music videos.
Yeah.
And the slang.
Discover Cans, where quality meets innovation. With over 24 premium strains, each carefully sealed in our signature cans for maximum freshness. We're redefining the cannabis experience. Trusted Canada-wide for consistency and reliability. We deliver the product you deserve. Elevate your expectations and explore the difference with Cans. You can find Cans on Instagram at @Cans_Canada, or you can find them on the Diamond Club page, Diamond Club_Ontario. Make sure to use the code WeLoveHipHop on the way out and get yourself a little discount. Salute to the sponsors. Cheer!
Yeah, I actually think that's really dope because everything that we just finished talking about has spilled over into the way the new generation doesn't just create music, but consumes it and promotes it.
Yeah.
So they grew up in an era where, yes, using social media and all of these platforms is their norm. They get it. They really do get it. We had to learn it.
Yeah.
I remember going from one album to the next and going, man, I didn't even pay attention to streaming last album. And having to relearn the game because the game had changed. I'm like, I better put some more into like social media marketing and push and playlists. I wasn't thinking about playlists before. That wasn't even a thing.
Yeah.
These kids are smart because they've learned the way that it works now. They're not paying attention to the way it was because they weren't around.
Yeah.
So they've come up with this. So I think it's actually brilliant that they've found a way to manipulate the modern day way to put music out, market music and consume music and get people to peep it. I'm going to admit to you, I'm still learning that. I'm not exactly sure how to run up them numbers, as they say. So I congratulate them. I don't care that the music's not being made for me. You know what I'm saying? I'm a big believer that in this world of hip hop, there's space for all of us. The older heads with the boom bap and the younger heads with whatever they're doing that might not be made for us and vice versa.
Yeah.
But yo, get that money, get that success. And show us, actually. We can learn from their entrepreneurial skills of, hey, man, this is the way we do our thing. And like you said, 70% of my audience is right here in Toronto.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Because like I said, I still find that a struggle. I have this record out that came out in Japan, and there's a line in there that talk about how my next door neighbors don't know my flavors. But in Japan, they say this, play that dear hip hop shit. It's the greatest. Like there's pockets of the world, literally all over the world, where I have released music and they rate me more than people who live on the same floor as me in my building. So I've always lived in this weird world where when it comes to me, I'm either this legend that you speak of or who? And there's very little middle.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, he's okay. I don't hear a lot of that. I'm either the greatest or nobody. And it's this weird
one or the
thing.
other, yeah.
And I think what I'm trying to do is try and find that way of, like these young kids are, how do I do this in a way that people all know what I got going on?
Yeah.
Trust me, I'm working hard to try and make it happen.
Listen, man, I can give you some methods, but I don't think you feel like crashing out.
No, that's going to be a whole crash course for later.
Yeah.
But shouts to everybody making it work for them.
I can't see you on Instagram on your live like this, motherfucker, I can't believe that.
And see, that's the funny part about it is you're right. That is one of those things. And I've learned, not the hard way, but it took me a while to learn like how much more I need to be personally communicating with my audience.
Yeah.
But there's things that I either don't know how to do, like I'm not an editor, I'm not techie, straight goods. And also, I'm also not that guy. You know, I'm not walking around with the, you know, I could have done that showing up here today, like all of the ways in which to market yourself. And I just haven't made that part of my world yet. So you're right. And I don't think there's necessarily something wrong with older heads going, look, this is not who I am and what I do.
Yeah.
Younger heads are used to having the phone out for all of their activities throughout the day. And like I said, more power to them if it's working for them in a business sense. But yeah, I haven't gone that far yet.
You know, but you don't have to, because you got to understand, if an older head starts going crazy and crashing out on the phone all the time, they're going to be like, why are you always crashing out at your big age?
Yes, exactly. That's a huge part of it.
Yeah.
And I couldn't agree with you more, man. I think that older heads just have to be who they are.
Yeah.
If you're an older head, you have more years of experience. That should sound like that in your music. You have more years of like life on earth. So a lot of us are parents. A lot, you know what I'm saying? Like there's shit we got to do.
Yeah.
Like we have some serious responsibilities to handle. So that should be reflected in the way that you put yourself out there, whether it's a business thing or not. So I agree with you, man.
Yeah.
It doesn't really hurt my feelings that so-and-so has more views than me. Well, I don't do that.
And
what they do.
They're not getting the same kind of fan base. I've realized over the years.
Yeah.
There's people who will, you know, just watch you on social media, but they're not going to be at your shows. They're just clicking like. They might leave a comment under there, but they're not the kind of core fan base that people like yourself and, you know, just people who are really building their careers really build. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Once again, I completely agree with you, because the type of artist you are, not just about your era or the sound of your music, but the type of energy you put out into the world, we're all different.
Yeah.
And so, yes, there are certain artists, and I would say that I'm one of them, who's really about live performances, rocking the mic live, less social media engagement. And I think that's what you got to do, is like just know your lane and feel comfortable and having that as your niche, because, you know, as you put my album up there, you know, like I still press my albums to vinyl, you know, I do shows, and that's the kind of MC I was growing up, like rocking the mic live and performing. And so, yeah, depending on the kind of artist you are, I think you should find the audience in your way, because you're right. Artists like me might put his dinner on Instagram every day. I don't. But if I did, I don't know that my audience who likes my music is going to care about.
They're not going to like that, bro.
And further to that, there's certain cats doing that on the opening track of the album, which is called Vigilante. I say, you know, tens of thousands on Instagram, but Spotify's minuscule. You frauds a lie, a pitiful, pot turkey like Istanbul. You ever see an artist? And I'm like, yo, how'd they get 50K followers on Instagram?
Yeah.
I go to their Spotify and it's like a handful.
Yeah.
So if your numbers aren't translating, and I know there's a way to fake the numbers, and I've never done that.
Yeah.
I just don't invest in fake numbers. So my numbers are pretty even across the board. It's several thousand on Insta, on Spotify. It's all almost the same thing.
Yeah.
And I will take that over the fake, because to your point, when I'm promoting my record or my show, I want there to be engagement. I want people to actually show up and actually support it. And I'm so thankful that they do. That's why I roll with music, because people who really give a shit about Daniel will often pick one up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're right, man.
No, man.
Know your niche, know your lane.
You got to know your lane, bro. I want to get into some Monolith talk for a second.
Sure, man.
Because a lot of people, when they're looking at the hip hop history, they need to know about the different crews, right? We had crews back in the days, right? I come from a crew, Empire Crew.
That's right.
It was 6 guys, you know what I'm saying? I was just the manager, but there were 6 rappers in that crew.
That's right.
Monolith had more than that.
Yeah.
Right? Can you tell me the birth of Monolith first?
Yeah, sure.
And then we can get into some more Monolith stuff.
Yeah, man. Well, the birth of Monolith is actually 2 crews forming as one. So in fact, the name Monolith, mono meaning one, shouts to my brother Corey Dees, who I believe named us, because we were part of 2 different crews. So firstly, in North Scarborough, a lot of us went to Francis Lieberman High School, Brimley and Finch in Scarborough, and we were called the Lyrical Coalition. In fact, we first started as the Lieberman Lyrical Coalition and just dumped the name of our school, because we'd be like at assemblies, you know, and people play instruments or sing, and we'd be looking at Grimace Love. Shouts to Grimace, was one of my Lieberman class, you know, fellow students in the school, and somehow we'd always find each other in the gym, and we'd look at each other and we'd just be like, we need to be on stage. So between him and myself, my man Charisma, aka Skiz, Spider-Man, aka Parker, those were the main dudes who are in Monolith today that were part of the Lyrical Coalition.
Mhm.
We became a crew. I was actually already boys with Charisma and Spidey from before we started high school. And then we started performing at assemblies.
Mhm.
And by the way, other talent shows and other high schools all throughout, like mostly Scarborough.
And this is still pre-Monolith.
This is still pre, because we're talking about like 92, 93. 94,
Mhm.
there's a crew called The Horde, and they're from South Scarborough. And that's Corey Dees and Black Cat, who made up IRS.
Yes.
Nish, formerly Nish Rocks.
Nish Rocks, yeah.
Landscape. Like, those dudes were part of The Horde. And I can't remember who met who. It was probably Grimace and Corey who drew the connection. And then the two crews met, and there was no beef. It was all love, and we would freestyle, and they would come by the school. We would just have a cypher freestyling. And one thing led to another. It's like we're basically all crew.
Yeah.
So enough of this Lyrical Coalition Horde stuff. Let's unite as one. And that's when Monolith was formed officially. It was 94. So we literally just celebrated like 30 years as a family.
Dope.
And I like to use the word family over crew, because we are crew, but we all created music together and made music together. But when a lot of people go, whatever happened to Monolith? To me, it's always important to explain we're still family.
Yes.
Even if we might not be putting records out together, although we are, like Corey and Nish are on this album. The family stays. And that's actually a song from a previous album. And so that's how it started in 94. And yeah, mans are still family to this day.
Now, and that's beautiful, right? But you see how, like, with Empire, I say this, and it hurts kind of when I say it. We couldn't have an Empire in 2024 or 2025.
Yeah.
Because the attention span to get 5-6 guys on one song together is crazy.
My brother, you were asking me. So I gave you the whole how we came together and we're still family story. What I left out in that 30-year time is the amount of bridging fights and disagreements and arguments. And like, bro, we would have meetings. We call them mono meetings. And we'd have we'd have a mono meeting, and it would be at a man's house in the basement, like, I don't know, 2:00 on a Saturday or something. Yo, maybe 5:00, half the mans roll through, and my ass is always there early. So I'm like, no one called to say if they were late. So we wouldn't even get to what we were supposed to get to. We would just argue that mans are late. Yeah. So sometimes it was rehearsals, sometimes it was recording, sometimes it was writing sessions, and we were able to string together an EP of songs. And for the record, there is so much Monolith material recorded in the vaults that to this day, we are still talking about, can we put something
the
out?
album?
Yeah, bro. And I will say this, because sometimes I'm hesitant to like publicly release shit without having anything official. But there some of the brothers who are like kind of headed up one of the projects that we put together are of the mind that yes, we do want to release it.
Yes.
No, I don't have confirmation on that as of yet. But I've been played some tracks that I even forgot. I don't know if you've ever had this experience, like listening to myself and I don't know any of the rhymes.
Yeah.
Like, we recorded this maybe a decade and change ago. Dude, it's so fire. And I hope that it comes to, because bro, I cannot stop being asked about when's Monolith doing this? When's
need
Monolith
that.
doing that? So I hope so. But yes, you asked the question. So Monolith is about 12 dudes. By the way, it was even bigger than 12 at one point, because we had graffiti artists like Case and Duro III representing Monolith. And a lot of other cats were part of the crew. And believe it or not, we actually held, this goes right back to the 90s, a little audition showcase in Charisma's basement once, because we had upwards of 30 odd dudes who were part of the crew.
That's crazy.
The Monolith that everybody knows about, that kind of became the official crew, was after we auditioned everyone and wrote an X or a check mark on an anonymous piece of paper, like long before America's Got Talent and all these things. We actually had that. And so
that's wild.
Yeah, we created the crew out of like, these are the mans we really are going to stay with. And so through 12 of us, what is there? There's 10 MCs or 11 MCs. Rest in peace, Destro.
Rest in peace.
We miss you and love you. And he's one of the 12. So the 11 of us technically remaining, that's 10 MCs. Lance raps too. So yeah, try to put together a song with the song and shouts to this song, because I love it. It's called 10 and it's on YOK's In Real Life album, Spotify and everywhere else you can stream music. And 9 of us rhyme in this song. And I think that's the fullest Monolith song ever made. And I put together a playlist on Spotify called Scarborough Man Still. and it has all of the mono collabs from all of our albums. So for everyone begging for an album, there's 30 plus Monolith songs on the playlist.
I think y'all could make it happen. Right?
I hope so.
Because
I still have that dream.
Because Empire dropped an album.
I know,
Mind you,
bro.
we didn't have as many members, but we still had 6 members, and we had to figure out how to keep people engaged with 6 members. We obviously didn't put 6 members on every song.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? We split up the songs, 2 guys here, 3 on this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And that's the beauty of it. Wu-Tang did that.
Yeah.
You know, so there's songs that I heard and that I told you about when we listened back to this. Like 2, so I'm in a song, there's like 2 of us. Sometimes it's 3, sometimes it's 6.
Yeah.
So yeah, and to your point, yeah, it was tough originally. Like who's going to be on what? How many bars are we spitting? Who goes first, second, third? It was so messy at one point. But yeah, I don't know if people realize just how difficult it is to get that many. I always refer to us as like there's 10 chefs in the kitchen and everyone's got their own recipe. You know, so thank God we're still boys.
You're all still brethren,
because it was hard.
Yeah.
And so now, you know, like dudes will do their own projects and put mans on the project, and it's easier that way.
Why do you think? And I feel like it's a pretty obvious question because you know, we talked about I had a crew.
Yeah.
You know, you had a crew. There was other crews that are out there in Toronto. Why over the years has it been more solo and less crews that you see in hip hop?
I want to take a quick break from this episode to give a big shout out to Only Loud, Canada's one-stop shop for your favorite legacy brands and all things loud. Only Loud provides mail order delivery nationwide and same-day delivery to those in the Ottawa area. Check them out at onlyloud.ca or follow them on their socials, Instagram at onlyloudcanada or on Snapchat onlyloud.ca for more exclusive content. Only Loud is not just a product, it's a lifestyle. Big salute to the sponsors. Cheer!
It's a good question. I think one is what we just talked about. It's harder. When you have a crew, it's hard. And maybe, you know, maybe the younger cats have smartened up and they're not going to put themselves through what we put ourselves through. Because I'll never regret anything I did with my boys. But man, it was hard. And, you know, we can happily joke about it now and laugh. But dude, there was some anger.
Yeah.
There was some fights. There was times where we were like, we got really angry because and some of the stuff I'm actually forgetting, but just like we couldn't agree on stuff. Like I said, fights about how late you were to this meeting.
Petty shit.
You know, and you spent another hour doing that. So what we were supposed to do, we didn't end up doing. And I think what we ended up realizing is that we just all feel differently about the shit. Some of us are like, ultra focused. I've always been ultra focused. I knew I wanted to do music when I was 5 years old.
Yeah.
When Thriller came out.
Yeah.
When Mike dropped Thriller, I knew what I wanted to do with my life. And I've never changed my mind all these years later. I can't speak for everybody else's passion, drive, what they aspire to do, what they're really good at. We're all talented at different things. Some dudes are incredible visual artists. I'm not. Some dudes have, different skill sets and they can move forward with that. I think today, to answer your question, maybe people realize that the focus that I have is not the same as my boys. So I'm going to focus on me because they might detract me from doing what it is I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
And maybe if some of us learned that earlier, we'd be in a different spot. But yeah, it's just, they say 2 heads are better than 1, but 10 is a problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's hard.
We can't even get like, RIP to Takeoff, but like the Migos couldn't even stay together as a group and they were only 3.
Is that right? Before he passed?
Before they passed, they were like separated. Like
I didn't know that.
Takeoff and Quavo made their own little group on their own, Unconfused. And Offset was on his own doing his own thing.
I did hear.
You know what I'm saying?
That.
So it's like even 3-man crews in
Yes.
these days and times, it's a struggle to keep together. Far less more than like getting 10 guys on
it's
on the
true.
same page. You know what
it's
I'm
true.
saying?
We shouted out, God bless them again, Phife Dawg. I remember when Tribe went through their breakup phase.
Yes.
And there was even a documentary about it. So it's crazy. Yeah, duos.
Yeah.
Can't necessarily work it out.
Duos. Just 2 guys.
CL wants to work with Pete Rock again. He's like, I'm good. And
they don't even both rap all the time on the songs.
that's it. He's just asking them to make beats. He's like,
That's crazy.
I'm rocking with Common. I get it. But yeah, no, it's tough. And for anybody who hasn't, especially because I'll answer this in my opinion, as far as hip hop is concerned, the majority of hip hop artists, regardless of your craft within the world of hip hop, are passionate about it. I can definitely say this for me. We aren't just, here's how I earn a living.
Yeah.
We care about the art we're creating. So because we're passionate about it and it means something more than the paycheck we're hoping to get, when someone fucks with it, it's like you're really messing not just with my money, which is a problem alone,
Yes.
but like, yo, man, I put so much into this. My heart is into this. And like, it's people take shit personal. Yeah, it's hard. It's not just business. We do take certain things personal.
Yeah.
And it requires some getting over. And there are relationships that have been strained because of the game.
Yeah. Yeah. Trust me, I could understand even from the content game, man.
Absolutely.
I wanted to ask you just some questions also, just because we've done interviews in the past, we don't need to go through, hey, where did you grow up and all that. Man. We all know that Danny-O's from Scarborough. You know what I'm saying? But one thing I want to know, growing up in Scarborough, because we know Scarborough has a lot of shit going on. There's crime in the streets and stuff like that. Do you think that hip hop saved you? And do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah, I do know what you mean by that. And it's a great question because I've never been asked that before. And I always appreciate new questions. I think hip hop might have saved me, not necessarily from the streets of Scarborough and the way that you phrased the question, because I knew, and we just literally were talking about like the passion and the love and the drive that I have. It's so inspired by the culture because I'm so in love with it.
Yeah.
Sometimes, we talked about Dear Hip Hop a little earlier. Sometimes I think about what I actually said in that song. I wrote it when I was 17 and I meant every word, and I still do because I love it. You know what I'm saying? And it's more than just emceeing. It's like, this is a culture. What we're doing right now, like hip hop made us, like you're wearing it on your hoodie. Like we're so passionate about it. We love it so much that I think in a way it took me away from any other nonsense that I could have gotten involved in. If any fuckery was going on, I was like, that's not for me, because I had goals.
Yes.
Like even when I was in high school and I got my first job at Kmart, bro, at Bridlewood Mall, I was like, that's how I put myself in the studio to record Dear Hip Hop. I got a job as a 15-year-old. Now, other mans are doing other things. Now, I never ran with like gangsta guys. We weren't into that life, but no matter what they were doing, I was focused on what I wanted to do.
Yes.
So I kept my head out of a lot of different things because I was focused on what I wanted. And hip hop drove me to that. Hip hop inspired me to like really be focused on my ultimate goals. I do want to say this though about Scarborough, because everything that you said about it is facts, but for all of those non-Scarborough people, I don't know about you, bro. I find myself always defending Scarborough. You know what I mean? Because people will hear the word Scarborough and think, oh, yo, you're from that part of China. Yo, Scarborough's a nice place.
It is.
Trust me when I tell you, schools and malls and parks and everything that you want in a place to raise a family is in Scarborough. Like everywhere else, there's pockets and places and people who are not going to nice up Scarborough the way that we look at it, man. But as much as there are issues, there's a lot of wonderful shit going on here. And I've been doing a lot of my teaching in Scarborough. And I want to shout out Next Generation Arts because I'm currently working with them and have for the past several years on programs called HEAL that work with youth in Scarborough. Not just Scarborough, actually, but it's in Scarborough. And specifically youth who've endured trauma and mental health issues and have maybe been the victims of violence or domestic abuse or whatever it might be. So as much as there's shit going on, there's other shit that is like working to heal. And that's literally the name of the program. And I'm proud to be part of that.
No, and that's dope that you're doing things like that in the community. And you mentioned teaching before. Like, can you tell us about the evolution into getting into teaching? Big salute to Steamin' Hot Grabba with a variety of different grabba flavors and dispensers. They got red rose grabba, that red herring grabba, and peanut butter. Hit them up on their Instagram page, Steamin' Hot Grabba, and use the code welovehiphop and receive a discount on your order. Again, you can find them on Instagram, Steamin' Hot Grabba. Now let's get back to the show.
Yeah, to be honest, it came from, remember earlier I was talking about being like disenchanted with the game and not quitting, but like almost like seeing myself as not doing it anymore before I had to start doing it again. I was looking for some other thing to uplift me because I thought, the game was just too hard for me to be a part of in that moment. And thankfully at the time, of all places, the Royal Conservatory of Music had just launched a hip hop program. It is no longer in existence, but when they launched it, it was almost like this sign, like, I can do that. Like, yeah, hell yeah. So, and I was an academic in school, an English major, like writing is just, I literally do that for a living to this day. So like teaching hip hop, Yeah, man, that's for me. So shouts to my brother Ian Kamal. Both he and I were the first ever facilitators hired by the Royal Conservatory of Music to
Mhm.
teach hip hop songwriting. The program lasted all of maybe 2 years, and then they tried to enroll it in the school, like a
Right.
paid for program, which didn't pan out. And we're like, parents are not sending their kids to
To
Royal
write
Conservatory of
hip-hop,
Music
yeah.
for hip hop. That's like you're going to learn an instrument there. But what it did do was it worked amazingly in like community centers.
Mhm.
So we were like in Regent Park, and we were in Rexdale, and like we were doing all kinds of workshops with like, you know, lower income neighborhoods and those kind of youth,
Yeah.
and it was working.
Yeah.
And it was getting them off the street, and they were starting to do stuff positive. And then the RCM kind of just let it go.
Mm.
And I've been working independently ever since. So I started my own program called the School of Rap, kind of after Jack Black's The School of Rock movie. It
Yeah.
kind of inspired me, like, yo, I'm going to do my hip hop version of this. And sort of went independent. So I've worked with everyone from Scarborough Arts to even what they call the Boys and Girls Club in Scarborough, and Toronto Community Housing, and you name it, like a whole long list of different community-based programs, community center schools. I've taught at schools,
Nice.
and I continue to.
So break it down. Are you teaching people how to put together like a 16 bars or how to count bars, everything like that too? Like,
Yeah, it's all of it. Portion of it is hip hop culture.
okay.
So especially with Black History Month coming up, I'll generally get work along the lines of teaching what hip hop culture is.
Yes.
I take it right back. I was about to say, I take it right back to the 70s and DJ Kool Herc, but even before that, because hip hop does come from, and I don't have to tell you this, but hip hop does come from, first of all, it is part of Black culture.
Yes.
It has roots in African music and also the civil rights movement. Like Dr. Martin Luther King was preaching in a way that, you know, you can hear him and Tupac's lyrics, like protest music. Like my latest single is a protest song. So reggae music, I take it to Jamaica, and like Bob Marley's music. So there's all these influences long before it becomes its own thing, from how it sounds for the rhythm and what we're saying with the lyrics, all comes from past parts of our culture, from Africa to the West Indies. And we all know that DJ Kool Herc immigrated from Jamaica to the Bronx, New York, and then the history from there, how DJing was essentially how hip hop started, the MC on the mic, et cetera, et cetera. That's all taught as part of my workshops. But yes, bar counting, how to come up with rhymes, so understanding rhymes and rhyme patterns. And dude,
crazy.
I have now so this started for me in 2006. So we're almost, what is that? 20 years almost. Next year will be 20 years. I have taught everyone from kindergarten to senior citizens. Nice. I did my first seniors program last year and had these ladies who never knew a thing about hip hop write a song. And of course,
that's crazy.
I got kindergarten kids understanding what B-boys are. And so,
yeah. No, that's so dope, man. This thinking about the history, and then you get into the writing of rhymes. Beautiful.
Yeah, I feel like it's all necessary.
Yeah.
Because I kind of feel a little bit like it's wrong for me to come in and you're going to learn how to rap, but like, I really love teaching people what hip hop is. I've even done like corporate events where I get hired, you know, like when they do their little, you know, I don't know, special presentations at a job. And I come in and start talking to people about hip hop. And it's interesting. Now that hip hop is itself in its 50s, there's a lot of people who are younger than hip hop. And you talk about hip hop, you go, do you guys like hip hop? And they'll go, yes. And I go, what is hip hop? And the answers are always very interesting.
Yeah.
Because they don't actually really know. And most of them will acknowledge it as a genre of music. So I love being able to take it so much further than just this musical genre and rap, which they kind of, sometimes we interchange rap with hip hop when we talk about the music.
Yeah.
But because hip hop involves so much more,
it's culture.
And speaking on it and getting them to understand that if you hear somebody beatboxing, that's hip hop.
That's hip hop.
When you're on the train and you see graph, RIP to the RT, but when you see graffiti, that's hip hop.
That's hip hop.
It's all hip hop.
When somebody tells you chill out, that's hip hop.
Thank you for saying that, because I don't teach 4 elements. I teach a minimum of 8.
Yeah.
And the language is part of it.
8 elements. Oh, shit.
So the 4 are the obvious.
Okay, break that down.
MCing, turntablism or DJing.
Yeah.
Breakdancing, aka b-boying and b-girling, and graffiti art.
Yes.
And then of course we attach to that, like rappers are MCs and there's DJs, turntablists, there's bombers, graph bombers, b-boys. So understanding what they're called and what the art form is. I consider beatboxing, and I've been asked this, I consider it its own element of hip hop because it's a skill onto its own.
Yeah.
Right. And some people have asked, you lump it in with MCing? I go, you do it on the mic, but beatboxing. They're skilled beatboxers.
That's a beat. It's
and
different. Yeah.
we create music with our mouths on the table, but beatboxing, beat making, bro. When I learned how to make beats, I realized how much this is not the way other musicians might. So I made my first beats on an SP1200. I then eventually bought an MPC 2000. And to this day, the way hip hop, like, you're not going to say that a DJ Premier or well, he's obviously a DJ, but he's a well-known producer. All of the producers that we love and respect. So there's like obviously a long list. Today, you know, the Hit Boys and they're hip hop.
Yeah.
The people who make the soundscape, the Pete Rocks, everybody. They also rap and do a bunch of other things. But if you make beats and that's all you do, you're hip hop as the rest of us.
And you're completely one of the elements. We can't have to rap without the beat.
How you gonna? But you can't dance without the music. You can't rhyme without the music. Like, so I think beat making, not just because producing is an even larger part of creating music.
Yes.
But if you make beats, you're hip hop. The fashion of hip hop, bro. I see hip hop when I look at you, bro. When people, and this goes into a deeper conversation, which I love to get into because of my latest single and video, Turn It Around.
In 2022, white supremacy fuel, hatred is still so plentiful, supported by many fools.
When people refer to the hoodie as something that's supposedly ghetto or gangsta, I'm like, you know, a hoodie is sports apparel,
basically.
But we made it hip hop.
Yes.
The jeans you're wearing, everyone wears jeans, but there's a certain hip hop look to it. The baseball cap that you're wearing, it's created for baseball players to wear on the field, but we made it hip hop.
Yeah.
When brothers were turning it around and wearing it a certain way, when we were wearing baggy jeans and all that stuff, when hip hop took on gold rope chains and 4-finger rings and Kango hats and my Adidas.
Yeah.
Run DMC made a song about it. Why? Because B-boys wanted comfortable clothing to wear when they danced. So Adidas tracksuits and Adidas shoes became so intrinsically part of sports apparel.
Yeah.
But it became hip hop. So hip hop apparel and the way you dress, whether it's a brand name or not, you can look hip hop.
Yeah.
And we all know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And it's changed throughout time. I wore baggy ass shit back in, you know what I'm saying? It's all hip hop. So you can't say that hip hop culture exists and there's no fashion element. So I believe fashion is one of the elements.
Another element. Yeah.
And the one that you said chill out is hip hop, the language of hip hop. We can speak hip hop. So in front of somebody who understands the English language, I go, did you hear the way that kid was spitting? He was sick. They might not understand that I said the way that person was rapping was very good. You understand? And so when I'm teaching the kids that, I'm like, give me hip hop. And they'll say lit and, you know, you're fit and sick and funky, fresh, dope, all the old ones and all the new ones.
Yeah.
So bling, bro. I teach bling. I'm like, what's bling? Some people don't know, actually. It's that old. But when they understand, oh, it's jewelry. We also call it ice. I'm not wearing bling at the moment, but my daughter made this bracelet. So I'm not a bling man, but we all know what bling is because of the song.
Yes.
In 1998, Hot Boys put out Bling Bling. And bro, we put bling in our lexicon now. So people
it's in the dictionary.
It's in the dictionary.
Yeah.
Hip hop did that.
Yeah.
So you can't use those words without acknowledging hip hop culture. Because sometimes I teach what is culture. And when we discuss culture and people talk about traditions, language, fashion. So what's your culture? It might be your background, where your parents came from, the clothes they wear, the food you eat. How does hip hop call itself a culture without acknowledging that hip hop has its own language? It does. So if I call something dope, and we hear it now all the time, it's in movies and, you know, that's hip hop.
Yeah. It's so entrenched in just regular pop culture,
right,
that we don't even associate it with hip hop anymore, even though it is.
100%. 100%.
Just like words like dope, everybody says dope. It's not just people who are into hip hop.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying?
And that's why I find it important, because when you have these discussions, whether it's with children or people in a corporate setting, and I use the word dope because they've used it too. I go, you understand that you're speaking hip hop, and you can see the light bulb going off in their face, like, oh, that's, yeah. You know, now some words lasted the test of time, like dope. But remember, we used to say deaf, things were deaf.
Yeah.
We're not really using deaf anymore. You know, we don't call
fat.
Fat. Who uses fat?
Actually, hold on. The kids are, it's come back.
It's come back?
Yeah.
PHAT?
I be hearing the kids talk, I'm getting fat racks, or I'm getting fat ricks.
Okay.
They won't even say racks. I'm getting fat ricks.
Right. But I can understand that from the perspective of it meaning a lot versus it meaning dope or cool. Because I'd say, oh, that's fat back in the day. As it's good.
Yeah.
But now fat means it's like a cumulative amount of something. Or an amazingly dope. So it's dope that it's as we're
It's
speaking
cycled
hip hop,
back, man.
it's cycled back, and of course now like we're learning, we're
Mhm.
still learning, and that's what's beautiful. Like we didn't use lit back in the day; they use it now. I don't know, is that still cool to say? You
I
know,
think
like
it's still good.
so people are still using lit and whatever. It's
Yeah.
all part of the culture, man.
Yeah.
So I love that we have our own language, fashion. Those are two elements, and don't forget the beatboxers and the beat makers. So I look at it as a minimum of 8.
No, man. Daniel opened the jewelry box just now
There
because
you go.
I've been just walking around the world thinking about 4 elements
Right.
and sometimes saying, there might be 5, but 8 elements? Yeah, I'm running with that, man.
Yeah, think about all the brothers and sisters who've come up with their own clothing line, and it's been inspired by their love for hip hop. We
Mhm.
can't exclude them from the culture. They're
Yeah.
dressing us.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, again, the hoodie and the way that, pop culture has attached it to black culture as if it's a negative thing.
Yeah.
It's not a negative thing. That's a whole other story that where you can attach racism to this conversation. But we made hoodies as well as other sports
Mhm.
apparel, baseball caps. The hockey jersey. Remember the hockey jersey was super hip hop for
Yeah.
a while there because of how we wore it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When Run DMC took the laces out of their Adidas and made a song about it and put the tongue over the pants and B-boys, we made it hip hop.
Mhm.
Tango, all of these things, we made it hip hop. We decided for ourselves we're going to either be baggy or we're going to representing
Yeah.
where you're from, your city, and we'd wear it. It's all hip hop.
It's all
man.
hip hop.
Yes, it is.
It's all hip hop. That's some real talk for the
Yeah.
people out there, man.
Yeah.
Just a few more questions
Sure,
I
man.
have to ask you here, man. Because I see also you be posting pictures with your daughter and
Yeah.
stuff like that. How has parenthood changed you in your journey making in this hip hop world?
Yeah.
I want to take a quick second from this episode to introduce you guys to The Gas Station, a new dispensary located at 260 Gary Avenue that prides themselves on having the best smoke products from across the GTA, the best gases, the hottest grabber, and the most exclusive backwoods flavor like Zaza, banana, and chocolate. The Gas Station is a one-stop shop for serious smokers. Repost our promo video on your socials and get a free half quarter on your next visit. Make sure to hit them up at The Gas Station 416 on Instagram or go check them out at 260 Gary Avenue in Toronto. Salute to The Gas Station. Cheer!
Thanks for asking that, man. It's been huge. First and foremost, it was the complete theme of my last album. So the last time we were talking, that album had just dropped. It's called The Day It All Changed.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because that was the day it all changed when she was born. For sure, man. You look at the world different. Everything's about her now,
Mhm.
and everything is like, keeping her safe, keeping her healthy, her well-being, her education, all of these things that just matter to you. So obviously, on that album, every song was a different perspective of the world through a father's eyes now,
Yes.
and how I saw things differently because now I'm a dad. So even the political record was about like teaching my daughter never to allow anybody to, make her feel any lesser of herself
Mhm.
because she's a person of color. Or, a different record where I was just trying to inspire her to follow her dreams. And like me, she discovered what she wanted to be at 5. She's now 10. She wants to be a hairdresser and own her own salon.
Nice.
So I talked to her about the importance of understanding the business versus just the fact. And she's very artistic. So I know from, personal experience, because one of my best friends, who's my barber, is one of the dopest artists ever. He
Mhm.
can draw. So I'm like attaching those things and like talking to her about it. So like my whole world is like nurturing her and
Yeah.
supporting her and all that stuff. So even on the Vigilante album, while the theme is completely different from the previous, I am taking it from a standpoint of like, I'm grown.
Mm-hmm.
I got real important things in my life, more important than your dumbass who's dissing me.
Yeah.
I got a daughter to raise.
Yeah.
So here's what I have to say, and I'm going to say it in my way.
Yeah.
So I think it's made my music stronger, more mature.
Mhm.
There's more substance to it. Like I said, I'm proud of everything I've done, but like if you go back to the Dear Hip Hop era, it's all just battling.
Mhm.
I'm just rhyming, and I have a song on that album called Incarceration because I was using it as a metaphor for not having been out. So
Mm.
I can't get out. I want to get out because I've never put out a record
Yeah.
before. This is long before a record drop. I have another song called Constipated. Why? Because I want to drop my shit. Like everything was a metaphor for putting out records.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm a dope MC. And as cool as that is, that's not all I'm about anymore.
Yeah.
And being a father has really opened me up to saying so much more in my music.
Yeah, putting the depth into it.
For sure, man.
Yeah.
And I know she's gonna hear it, man. Like, it does me so proud. Like she's memorized a lot of the records that I do,
Nice.
which is very cool, because sometimes you're like, am I cool to her? You know what I'm saying? Like when
Yeah.
I started teaching, not when I started teaching, when I started teaching at her school, because her principal a couple of years ago knew who I was. Like, you got to come in and do your thing.
Yeah.
And she's like, Daddy, don't put the record up with my face on it. Don't tell anyone. And she's being all nervous and shy and you know, bro, I came in there, did the workshop. Yo, the youth them loved it. And all of a sudden she's like, yeah, you know, she's putting up her hand and wanting to participate. And like, she's proud of her daddy. And she's like, yeah, we watched your videos. And so I remember like doing all the videos that I did for my last album. I made sure they were clean versions just because of the theme of the album. And she's even on it. I'm like, anyone that hears this in this context, like this is Danny-O the father, clean version. This album is a little bit different for obvious reasons. So my mindset is like, what's this going to say about her? Because it's her dad who put this record out.
Yeah.
And so I can I always have, but I can really stand behind all of the comments I make and the positions that I take on these records because I represent her too.
Yeah. You know, she's watching or listening. You know what I'm saying?
For
You're
sure.
mindful of that.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Let me ask you also, what do you and I asked this the other day to one of the homies, Chaclair.
Yeah.
Right?
My bro.
What do you think is one of the best decisions you ever made?
Wow. Ever made? Or are we talking about like music?
Just period. Music. Like our life is music too. So like it's kind of all intertwined.
You're absolutely right about that. And that's something we've been talking about all podcasts because my life is directly tied into the things I say in my music. Best decision I ever made was fighting for my daughter. I did not have a pleasant experience coming into fatherhood.
Yeah.
Her mother and I are not together, and there's a way too long story there. And the experience made me realize, for some, or maybe many, why a lot of men aren't around in their children's lives. It is not something that I respect. I actually don't appreciate deadbeats, which is why I have a record called the Deadbeat Diss Track. But I understand. It's like that Chris Rock thing. Remember that thing? Like 30 years ago, he was doing the stand-up and he brought up like the OJ thing. And he's like, I'm not saying he should have killed her, but I understand. And, you know, it is Chris Rock way, this whole thing about what OJ must have been dealing with. And obviously he's amazing at what he does. So in my world, I'm like, I couldn't do it, but I understand. Because when you go through such immense difficulties, just trying to be with your daughter, spend time, raise her, and the amount of time and energy and money it takes to go through the court system, it is a nightmare. But it was the best decision I ever made because I have joint custody of my daughter and most importantly, a very, very strong relationship with my daughter. And I see so much of me and her, and it just makes me laugh sometimes at the way she'll clown and joke, and she carries on like me and my brother sometimes. And she's also super smart, super polite. She's musical as well. She freestyles and says, Daddy, can I have the phone? And she wants to record a voice note. I could play it now, but I don't want to embarrass her like that because like she's working on her. She's not like working on music, but she has that mindset.
Yeah.
Because like I come up with stuff, I'm like, oh yeah, and I got to put it in my phone. So she's very creative. And the relationship I have with her, I think, is obviously a huge part of the result that came from fighting for her and making sure that I'm in her life the way that I'm supposed to be. And I think the way that all fathers are supposed to be. For sure, my best decision.
Well said, my brother.
Yeah, man.
On the flip side, worst decision ever made.
Well, wow. Worst decision I ever made. This might not be the worst decision I ever made, and I'm thankful I don't have like major horror stories in this life of mine. Other than the losses I've incurred, and a lot of people have endured losses and didn't come through a decision. But I would say probably the one that's just off the top of my head is maybe not sooner taking my career in a direction where I was focused more on the goals that I have always set for myself.
Yes.
You know, you spoke earlier, and it's probably completely correct in saying a lot of these younger dudes are like handling stuff, doing their stuff on their own, being independent minded, having an entrepreneurial spirit and going for it, and not letting the influence of others sort of take over those things. And I think I went through some of that. I'm going to answer the question this way. I'll pinpoint this. Worst decision I ever made, and I'll say this professionally, is for about a half year. I don't know if anybody knows this, so I'm gonna drop a little exclusive. I don't remember ever talking about this. I wasn't Danny-O anymore. I changed my name based on the advice of someone who really had no success in the industry, but was so full of advice and all this stuff that he had done. You got to change your name. You got to recreate your whole image because the Danny-O thing's not working for you. You should be the Don Feraldo. Now, Feraldo is my last name.
Yeah.
And the Don as in, I don't know, the crime lord.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
mafia boss. So I was the Don Feraldo for like, and he changed how you write. You're too intricate with your bars. And so I was like taking on this idea. The same time I told you that I quit, that mid 2000s, that's when it was. And I wrote about, I want to say a handful of songs, 4 or 5 as Don Feraldo.
That's
crazy.
crazy.
And my voice was more like, I was going to rhyme more like this. And 4 or 5 songs then I'm like, what the fuck am I doing?
What the hell?
What am I doing? I only recorded 1.
Yeah, okay, good.
Of the 5. And I liked it, but I'm like, this is me trying to
You're not
do
being
something.
yourself.
Nah,
man.
bro. And thankfully, I really didn't do anything under that
Yeah.
name. But for context, if anyone goes to the Danny-O Bandcamp page, you will see a mixtape I did in 2005 called Speak No Evil, The Last of Danny-O. In my, I wasn't quitting, but that was my, I'm going to become Don Feraldo now.
Feraldo.
And thank God no record came out as Don Feraldo because that was the worst decision. It was corny and gimmicky.
that was, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You see, I buried it. I didn't think about it. You reminded me of that. I'm like, oh, that would have been the worst
because
decision.
it's reminding me of that country singer. I forget his name. And there's for a second,
Garth Brooks.
Garth Brooks.
Yeah.
And he had a whole other character.
That's right.
And it didn't work.
No. I mean, I'm not sure how many people have made that work. Shock G as Humpty Hump comes to mind, and that worked for what he was doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, how often have you heard of an artist go through a name change and an image change? I'm sure it's happened, but I can't really think of like, once they did that, then they took off.
Yeah.
And it was just advice from somebody. Because listen, when you're younger, especially, and you consider yourself to be struggling, because again, back then, we're talking about pre-social media, pre-streaming, you got to press records and tapes or CDs or whatever. And your literal money is, are you sell? Because it used to be the product. Yeah. Right? Shouts to Maestro Fresh West, the godfather of this whole shit. He told me once, and I'll never forget, he goes, the music used to be the product. Now it's the advertisement. So now that I even though I press and have product, the music is hire me to do a show, hire me to teach your class, hire me to host whatever it is I'm doing. Because I'm presenting to you, this is the product I am versus the music, because we can all stream music now. Yeah. So a lot of people haven't come up in a culture where they're paying down money for the product. Yeah. But hopefully I'm worth your money as the product that you choose to have at your event or what have you. So I don't know if I'm losing my train of thought, but I do know for a fact that being in this game now is something that is being focused on trying to make sure that everybody is getting what it is that I'm putting out without worrying so much about the money and being the product that is what you see in front of you.
No, man, it makes sense.
I don't know what I just wrapped up there. I was talking about something else.
No, it makes sense. It makes sense. We're talking about even with the Don Feraldo stuff and like.
Oh yes, that worst decision.
You kept it true.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. So I'm glad you never released any Don Feraldo material like that. Yes,
and that's what, like I said, I keep it true to me, so it can be true to my audience, because no matter what comes of it, man, I want to make sure that people like enjoy what it is I'm putting out. And if they don't, I can be okay with that. Yeah. But if I put out something that was kind of half-ass or fake or just advice driven and people don't like it, then I really feel like a sophos, bro. Yeah. Because even I was going, I don't know about this. And now people are calling it whack. So yeah, you got to put out your true authentic self. And I think, I mean, arguably it isn't, but an element, I'll put in air quotes, of hip hop is being yourself, like representing, right? Like it's always, that's part of the hip hop lexicon too, to represent, to be you, to be where you're from. Like, what do you represent? I will say real hip hop. I will say Scarborough. I will say Toronto. Anytime I leave Canada, I never tell people I'm from Toronto. Like, understand where it's from, because then I'll start reading them where's that? I'm like, yo, Bridget, like, or, oh, they got black people in Canada. Like, there's always a reason to school people. Yeah. And I use where I'm from and representing as how to start schooling them. Dude, I've done American podcasts, bro. The amount that they don't know about us.
Yeah.
And the schooling that I have to do. But I'm proud to do it. That's representing to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so outside of the rhymes, it's like I stand up for, you know, my city and where I'm from and what I'm about.
Yeah.
And if you don't, then yeah, you're going to get called out on that. Frauds had never really been welcome in hip hop.
No.
Biting MCs had never been really welcome in hip hop. So I keep that energy.
Yeah. And you know, you mentioned something even with being from Toronto, right? As a content creator and a content creator that goes out to a lot of American viewers and stuff, I get into debates, and I'm going to I'm going to ask you a question about current events that are happening right now.
Okay.
Our biggest export out of our hip hop game out here, Drizzy Drake, he's dealing with a lawsuit right now.
Yeah.
They're saying it's a lawsuit for defamation,
right?
Because of the words that were said in Not Like Us,
right?
Do you agree with it? Because a lot of people are kind of mad at him. They're saying like you're defying hip hop with this, bro.
It's interesting because I think some people are trying to rewrite the hip hop rules, and the truth is there are no written hip hop rules.
Yeah.
We've always decided upon them throughout time. So before I answer that question, I just talked about biting. When we came up, it was a hip hop rule, unwritten or otherwise. You don't bite.
Yeah.
If I heard a verse and that was the same lyric that someone else did, I call you a biter, and that's frowned upon.
Yeah.
Right? Even a style. It might not be the actual lyrics, but you're trying to sound like another MC. Bro, I remember when Onyx came out and everyone started yelling in their raps.
Yeah.
DOS Effects came out and everyone started going iggity in their raps.
Yeah.
So biting's not allowed is an unwritten hip hop rule. And I believe that if you're hip hop and part of the culture, you'll probably stand by that.
Yeah.
So you could also make the argument that faking and fronting, that's something I talk about in the Like We record. Like We is about social media and how people fake and front on social media and pretend they're somebody they're not. Well, as far as I'm concerned, hip hop frowns upon the fake.
Yes.
That ain't really you, bro. So if you're saying something that's not real, i.e., and this is arguably the worst thing you could call somebody, a fucking if that's not true and you don't have the receipts to show, there's no proof of that, it's not real, you're just using it as a diss, there's a reason, there's an argument that could be made. It's like a mama. On one hand, you can say it's a mama joke. If we're freestyle battling right now and I call your mama something, a lot of people will take that as ha ha.
Right.
It's just a mama joke. You don't know his mom. You're not really saying that.
Yeah.
But then there's next level. The whole certified isn't necessarily something I would take lightly either. Now, would I go the route of the lawsuit? I don't know. However, do I understand? We're going back to that Chris Rock line.
Yeah.
Do I understand? Like, shit, yeah. Bro, call me, like we talked about how I view the world now as a father.
Yeah.
Bro, if you call me a father, that's the worst thing you could say to me, bro.
Yeah.
Like, never in a billion years could you ever call me something like that and mean it, bro. Like, that's not even funny as a joke.
Yeah.
And certain things we don't take as jokes, right? So from the perspective of, bro, you can't be calling me that. Say what you want. Call me a whack MC. Say what you want. Mom jokes even. But that there, bro, nah.
Yeah.
I get it from that perspective. I do. I understand that. From the other side, whether that's hip hop or not, arguably, I really think that Drake held his own for sure. I think that the bars he came with throughout that battle were really dope. I rated what he did. I didn't think that the battle was a wash the way a lot of people are referring to it as. I really thought when people used to ask me when it was in the midst of it happening, I'm like, dude, they both won. And the reason I think they both won is that everybody's talking about Kendrick and Drake right now.
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about those two niggas. As a matter of fact, my album was on the way. And I had some advice from a friend. He meant well. And he was like, maybe you should delay the album.
Fall back.
Because everybody's talking about Kenny and Drake. And I'm like, bruh, there will never be a time where they're not talking about these dudes. And if it's not them, it's someone else big in the game. So I never look at myself as small time or small brow. Like, I shouldn't be promoting my shit because. So I come from that world of, what they do on the mic. What did they spit? I thought they both sounded great. I think they both said a lot of dope shit. The foul comment is is at the top of the list of the most foul things to say.
Yeah.
And untrue. There has been nothing to my knowledge that suggests Drake was really about them young girls.
Yeah.
The way, say, an R. Kelly, who's in jail for it now, or a P. Diddy and these mans who are in serious trouble.
Yeah.
Because of real things. Forget music, bro. Forget lyrics. they did some shit that they're in some serious trouble for. From that perspective, again, I understand it's not really the most hip hop thing in the world to start a lawsuit. Yeah. Okay. So my argument would be like, Drake, just come with more bars. But I think he didn't. They came with enough bars.
It's easier said than done. A lot of people are using that argument. Well, just come with more bars. I'm fighting with my label. I'm fighting with my label about them pushing a narrative that would defame me.
Yes.
And make it harder for me to push music through them.
And I think that's the bigger part. I'm looking at it from a personal stance of you call me a pedophile, me and you definitely have beef. The flip side is the business.
Mm-hmm.
And as a person who obviously is very successful in the world of business, he's looking at it from the standpoint of this is a company not doing their job, marketing me in the way that they're supposed to by way of their contract versus the way that they're marketing this Kendrick record. And this Kendrick record happens to be saying some stuff about me that's untrue. So again, I'm not mad at Drake the way people are, quote, mad at Drake.
Yeah.
Because this is business. You kind of have to look at it outside of the realm of hip hop for a second, because forget the bars. Okay. You can be mad at the bars for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, if it's messing with his money, and that is business, if somehow we are in business and you are we're in business together and you're messing with my money, forget the rhymes and the fact that we're even talking about hip hop. This is a business thing. So if you look at it from a business perspective, he might have a gripe with the company that's supposed to be pushing his music. That's outside of the realm of this battle. So there's two arguments happening at the same time. If you sue a man, again, I don't think, and let's make this clear, you're not suing Kendrick.
No, he's suing the record company.
Right. So the defamation might come in. Because let's be honest, when someone's not about their business and you feel like you got to take legal action, the lawyers are the ones doing the talking and the work. So the word defamation probably comes from someone in that law office who goes, well, here's where we got to get them.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to do this, 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 and this, because we're going to try and get as much money as we can out of this. So let's add defamation to it, because not only are they not promoting your record the way they promoted this record, but this record defames you.
Defames you, yeah.
So I'm not going to sit here and defend Drake and say it wasn't his idea, but it's very believable to say that whoever was hired to handle this business of the label not honoring their contract with Drake has added defamation as a reason for the lawsuit.
And also defamation is illegal. And what the labels doing unfair practices are not necessarily illegal. It's unethical.
Mm-hmm.
So when you add defamation, now we can take you to court.
Yeah, exactly. So let's look at it from this perspective. Let's take hip hop out of it completely. Let's suppose you are a journalist and you wrote an article, and maybe the article was about me teaching in school, and your article intimated that I might have done something inappropriate.
Yeah.
First of all, on a personal level, I'm going to be more livid than I've ever been in the world. And I'm going to want to deal with your case in a Scarborough way.
Right.
But a lawyer would advise me to do something else. And they're going to sue this person for defamation.
Mm-hmm.
You might look at that and go, Dan, as a hip hop artist, that's not very hip hop. But I'm not talking about hip hop right now.
Yeah.
I'm talking about teaching in schools and this person writing an article that is completely false and also going to not just hurt my personal reputation, which is huge, but could definitely fuck with my money in the long
your
run.
business.
So I get that people are attaching the battle to it for obvious reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But, I think there's a reason that's not necessarily hip hop / battle related that he's doing this.
Yeah.
If he was straight trying to take Kenny to court, then maybe we're looking at it.
Then we're looking at Karen territory there.
There you go. That's the point.
Right?
Yes.
No, thank you for that, man. Because and I've asked other not younger cats. I asked the guys who've been in the game, been in the business for a while, have been able to see the music game evolve, especially from here in Toronto. Because I just want to know what you guys think when you see all of these different things that are happening now from our scene. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's another world.
Yeah.
I mean, we're obviously not in the world of, suing because the label, like what label?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, big shout out to UrbNet, who celebrated 25 years. You've been on UrbNet, man. Like, those are great dudes. And you want to talk about a label. They've been independent for now 25 plus years, putting out the underground.
Yeah.
And, from even including like neo soul and funk and a whole slew of hip hop artists from across the country, in the world, actually. So thankfully, I can speak on them and go, there's not going to be no lawsuit. They're doing their job and I'm doing mine. If I was in the world of these big companies pushing out my music, then I might have a different perspective.
Yeah.
Because that's the next level of handling business.
Yeah.
That's a whole other level.
Salute to Urbnet. I even got a little check the other day. So salute to them.
Oh, word up. What? You did? Hey, where's
not for much, but you know, they still run a 1-2 Friday Ricky Dread tunes, man.
Dope.
But listen, man, I really enjoyed having this conversation with you, brother.
Man. I'm really glad to be back, man. And if I may, I just want to say this real quick, because one of the reasons that we even like hollered at each other to do this is because as I'm pushing this Vigilante album, the whole reason behind Vigilante is because you asked me about this, like my mindset now as an artist, not just as a dad, but like a, you know, so-called legend or someone who's grown up in the game. You know, I look at the world now and see a lot of shit that I don't like about it. And sometimes I think about what I would do about it if I could. And I know this might sound strange, but, you know, like Dexter, you know what I'm saying? And Death Note, I was watching that throughout the pandemic. And I'm like, I believe in vigilantism. Handle these mans who didn't get handled in the way, you know, there's no justice here.
Yeah.
So lyrically, it's what I do. When I, you know, throw, you know, whatever jabs at people who use social media a certain way, I discuss gun violence on the album, anti-Black racism, self-hatred, jealousy, having mental health issues. These are all things that I wish I could kill and destroy. And that's the concept of the album. And so lyrically, I'm doing that throughout the record.
Yeah.
And the most recent release from it, the Turn It Around music video, is about the anti-Black racism topic. And I thought it was important, one, because it kind of even inspired the album cover, where I'm like lynching a Klan member, but also because Trump is about to take office again.
Yeah.
You hear the things he says and you hear the things that his followers say. So for those who haven't seen it, my latest release is Turn It Around. The brand new music video is not just a statement lyrically about the state of racism, and it covers over 100 years of racial atrocities, but it's visual now. And I thought it was important to put visuals to this song because there's so many clips that even as I watch it, I was putting this thing together with my man Flea Normality. Shouts to him and shouts to Century, who sings on the track and beautifies it. But as I'm putting it together, man, it's hitting me like, damn, some shit has gone down. And it's an important statement for me to make. So following in the footsteps of the Public Enemies and all the artists that we came up with in the 90s who made protest music and put out visuals to really drive the point home, I really needed to put out this Turn It Around video. So that's my latest. I hope everybody, you know, gives that a look and becomes part of the conversation, because we got a minimum of 4 years of this guy. And it's not just a Trump thing, but racism has always existed and always will. And the way we approach it is important. We need to have that conversation and not let these people shut us up as if to say, racism doesn't exist. You just keep talking about it. That's some bullshit that I really attack in the song. Wanted to make a statement before we go about that, because that's what I'm on these days. That's where my music is at.
No, I'm down with it, man, and I'm glad, bro. What do you have coming up next besides what's going on now?
Yeah, so I'm glad you asked. This is a great way to finish it off because it's how you begun it. Off the top of this podcast, bro, you played Barsman because it just so happens to be my most highly streamed single or song off the Vigilante album. The Barsmen remix is coming. And why this is special to me is because it's called Barsmen and Bars Women and is a 10 MC posse cut. And, you know, we talked about the school of hip hop we come from. I think posse cuts are a little bit of a lost art.
Yes.
So to put 10 MCs on one song, and it's just straight bars.
Nice.
So my follow-up to release for Turn It Around, which I'll be pushing probably throughout Black History Month. And it's funny because I was talking to Daryl. Shouts to Daryl from Urbnet today.
Salute.
The single Barsmen and Bars Women is scheduled for release March 7th. So look for that. It is 5 minutes of fire, bro.
Dope.
So
Well,
yes.
this will be out by then.
Yes,
you
sir.
know what I'm saying? I'm definitely looking forward to it, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. Danny, you're in the building,
Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you. Even though there's no cheesecake here.
Nah, man. We have a smoke-free day today, man.
Sorry to make it a smoke-free day.
No, don't be sorry, bro. This is
man.
my pleasure. As long as we are able to get the jewels and get the conversation.
Yeah, and we did. And
that's what's important to me, man.
I appreciate that a lot. Thanks, man.
Yeah,
this was
man.
Good.
Before I get out of here, I just want to give a quick salute to the sponsors.
Yes.
Big salute to Diamond Club. Hit them up on their Instagram page, Diamond Club _Canada. Big salute to Steamin' Hot Grabber. Hit them up on their Instagram page, Steamin' Hot Grabber. Big salute to Only Loud. Hit them up on their Instagram page, Only Loud Canada. And last but not least, big salute to The Gas Station. Hit them up on their Instagram page, The Gas Station 416. I'm going to take us out here with the track Turn It Around, or
Yes,
Turn It
sir.
Around. Danny, you in the building, man.
Big up.
We are off of
Authorities
this.
say the alleged shooter planned it all. It started around 2:30 Saturday.
We love hip hop.